Good morning, everyone. So welcome back to the Apidays Day 2, Segment 2. In this segment, we are going to talk about the data-driven API design. As you can hear in the day one, there's a lot of industry use case talk about the importance of data, the data fragmentation, etc. But how exactly we can cater different kind of data scenario? So we have live a few speakers to talk about that. The first one, we have Ethan from Microsoft. He is the global technology strategist, and he will be talking about how to serving data as an API. Ethan, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
It's okay. So I can hear your voice as well. So your slide is also ready. So let me pass the time to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay. Let me introduce myself very quickly. Okay. Hi, my name is Ethan. I'm working at Microsoft as a global technology strategist. My role is something like a Microsoft CTO to serve for our global strategic customers on the technologies, digital transformations, and innovations. Actually, I have a 20 years development background. My focus areas will be on the digital developments, data analytics, and the data science as well. And I'm an active contributor in the data science and analytics communities, including the code repository, article, publication as well. Okay, just check it out, my GitHub repo or Medium's my latest article and the publications. So let's start the sections. And today I will share with you about the serving data as an API, right? The topic is something weird, right? Why we need to serve data as an API? I will let you know, right? I will give you a concept about the data virtualizations to let you know why it is required. Okay, why it is required. So let's talk about agendas. Okay, very simple. Okay, very simple to try to. I'm not trying to talking about so many technical. Okay, before we go into technical stuff, right? Definitely you can check out my code repo. Okay, a lot of code sample about how to we using a Node.js Go language to build an API very effectively. That's relatively simple. Just call the fork the repo, you can get it. So I'll tell you why we need to do this, right? And what is the challenges, okay, nowadays we are facing, and what kind of solution we can address the challenges as well. So why we need to serve the data as an API, right? Okay, before I'm going to topic about the data virtualizations, because okay, we everything we need to give a reason before you're doing it. Business demand, right? To serve our business, right? Okay, so multiple key points and try to consolidate in here. So about why we need to have the data serving data as an API or data virtualizations. Convenience, first of all, right? Convenience means okay, I don't want to very complex integrations, okay, to pull in my data and consume it, right? This is the first point from the business point of view. They would like to conveniently to consume the data. Second point, okay, consistency. This is important. If the data is everywhere, something like a data lake, okay, if we have so many data sources, it's hard to find it, right? And you will lose the consistency as well, right? The data demand, okay, I would like to see the data in a consistency way instead of just this version, another version, it's totally different, right? Lost the consistency. The third thing, reliability. Okay, definitely we would like to get the data on time, right? No matter it's real-time data or batch mode data. I would like to get the data in reliable way. Okay, I consistency to get it. Definitely, I'm very stable to get it all the times instead of just in some days I'm searching for business intelligent dashboard something or reporting cannot generate, cannot see that. That's not a good idea. Performance. Performance is also important. This is one of the consideration when we think about the API as well, right? If the performance of the API of the virtualization is relatively slow, okay, just imagine if you are the boss, something, right, from the business demand, you would like to see the demand forecasting, the forecasting of the sales target, whatever, right? If you can just lack, okay, talk about the sales performance. The performance of loading dashboard just a nightmare. What do you think, right? This is not good ideas. Performance is one of business demand as well, okay? Velocity. Velocity means the speed, right? The real-time data, okay? The API definitely is a good idea, okay? Or the virtualization is definitely is a good idea, okay? To make the data, okay, the real-time data able to serve it on time in the very fast manners. So we understand, okay, the business demand, right? Sounds like reasonable, obviously, very reasonable for any architecture design, right? So what is the challenges? Okay, when we create, okay, just thinking, not talk about the topic about the data virtualization, just API. What is the challenges we are facing on, right? Complex access control, security access control, definitely, okay, because you have a multiple data source, you need to control the security access as well. If you are API, luckily, if you have the API gateway, okay, you will relatively mature, okay, you can control in a single pane of glasses, okay, but it's still complex on security access control. The performance demand, right? As I said, right, the business would like to pull the report, right? The consumer, right, or the mobile apps would like to call the API, okay, or call the report, okay, would like to grab the data, so okay, grab the API as fast as possible. So the first thing, the challenge is to aggregate the data view, right? So just imagine just one API, okay, or two API, three API, three data sources is working silo in a different business domain, right? You need to connect to multiple API, multiple data source, okay, and then make your result dashboard, okay, or results visualization from the mobile app or website. Thirdly, the fourth point is about the integrations. Okay, how hard is integrated? Okay, in old days, okay, if we try to connect the data source in the ODBC or JDBC drivers, okay, that's one thing is possible, but it make the integration relatively hard to achieve, right? Nowadays, API economy, definitely we would like to serve everything in the API way more easier to integrate, right? Integration is one of the challenges as well. So, okay. Actually, what is behind the scenes, right? From the top, okay, from the data source as well, okay. From the data source, okay, very simple to understand. Maybe you have in Microsoft, you have the Microsoft SQL Server or other SQL Server like MySQL, Postgres, or Oracle, okay. You have a data warehouse, or you have the NoSQL database, or the Spark, okay, or you have a Hadoop in nowadays, or file system, or even Mongo database, okay, in a NoSQL, right? A lot of data source to facilitate all the data consumer, as I share, right? Something like a BI dashboard, no matter Tableau, Power BI, okay? Or you are data analyst, okay? You would like to analyze the data, right? You need to use the Databricks or the Spark engines, okay? To try to analyze data, train the model, wherever you like, okay? Or you have the containerized applications, okay? That's a part of data consumer as well. You have the website, you have the mobile, or even the end user would like to have single plane, okay, to consume the data as a result, okay? Definitely from the IT perspective, from the data perspective, okay. You have this demand, okay, you have this demand of the report, you have this demand of the mobiles, okay, no problem. I make you a connection for you. As consequently, you can see something like this, right? At a high level angle, just like mass in here, so my linking, right? Just like old days, right? Like data centers, right? All the cable in a mass in this way, right? So there's a mind-blowing questions, right? What can we do, right? Okay, that's the next topic. Next topic. What can we do? How can we help, right? Okay, data visualizations. Actually, let me try to describe the data visualizations more. It's not just, so to be honest, just the speaking section is just try to describe it as an API. Data visualization is not just a API, right? Data visualization is something like a software or conceptual things, okay, to aggregate all the structural, all the unstructured data, the data source, okay, for the virtual viewing through the dashboard or virtualization tools. And definitely, most of the data virtualization software they can represent it as an API for easy integration. No matter is the Spark, okay, no matter is a BI tools, is make it more easier. The softwares allow the metadata to the data more discoverable and hiding the complexity associated with the accessing disparate data source from the various data source. So just like my previous slide, you can see like a mass, right? It just imagine data virtualization is a virtual layers. It's your virtual layers. Hiding, I can say hiding. Okay, hiding in there. Okay, all the mass is handled by you, handled by the related virtualization software. So as the consumer, you can easily have the single pane of glasses to consume the data. It is important to note data virtualization is not replicating the data out okay, from the source system. It's just try to aggregate all the source system depends on the requirements, and then it simply store the metadata and integrate the logic for the viewing person as a presentation. So that's why it's a data virtualization. So Let me try to try to prepare a slide deck, something like this, for more easier to understand, right? In previous slide, okay, you can see a mass, right? Depends on the requirements, okay, the nine, okay, the dotted line, okay, will be much, much, much more, right? Okay, so what if we have the data visualization layer in here, right? Would be able helped a lot because the data consumer, okay, can be contact with single brain, the data visualization engines or platform, right? Definitely rely on the software platform, right? Okay, so they can easily to locate, okay, to consumer data more effectively, okay. In most cases, the data visualization software will be serving as the API, the SQL to facilitate the dashboard purpose. As a data consumer, you're more easier to consume it. Or nowadays, we try to serve the data as a product, right? So this is way to achieve it. DAAP, data as a product to serve for our, we have such kind of ordering data, okay? Now we serve the data as a product to serve for the business need. Data visualization software uses a simple three-step process to connect the data source, to combine, okay? That means the data visualizations and make it consume, okay? To deliver holistic view of the enterprise to the business user across all underlying source system, right? I'll try to describe in previous slide. One of the principles of the data mesh diagram is considering the data as a product. Sometimes the principle has been have you changed the wording as a data product? Okay, hence the confusion as well. Data product is a just like generic terms, right? Data product something like a BI recommendation engines. Okay, and here, okay, you can see data as a product. It's a set of the possible data. Okay, just more specifically, data as a product belongs to the raw or deliver data as a data product. It's a type of products. Okay, just deliver the data result, the digested data as a product to our end consumer right here, right? So what kind of component inside of data visualization here, right? Solving, definitely we talk a lot in here, right? It has the centralized performance and resources management. We also have the data catalog for easily, okay, for the data consumer, what kind of data you have, okay, more easier to figure it out, right? The caching, okay, the caching means, okay, is it require all the times going back to the data source, okay? Definitely we are not trying to replicate the data, okay, as a caching to facilitate the data consumer much more better. And most importantly, as I said, okay, security and the data privacy as well, the governance, okay, you can use this virtualization layer to control all the security assets from the consumers or from the products. And the governance, that's the same thing. And most importantly, as I said, okay, the challenges before, right? Aggregated view, right? In old days, okay, we made, for example, the containerized application at the back end. Okay, I need to connect to the SQL database to pull in transaction. I need to connect to the NoSQL database to pull in the customer's data profile, something, right? At least two dot line in there. I need to connect, right? But back to the data visualizations, I can contact it with the single frame of classes, okay, with the single view, okay, for to serve my demand. And in some cases, some people maybe serve it as a product, okay, to serve for the mobile, right? This is a mobile view as a product to facilitate it. So that's about data visualizations. But one very important concept when we're talking about the data visualization is the data mesh. Data mesh is obviously a trending topic, but I think, okay, but I can say, okay, the data mesh, okay, is more or less is related to data visualizations. Data mesh is something like a concept, okay? It's not a truth, it's not software, okay? It's a design principle, okay? From starting from 2019, okay, from someone, okay, to try to uh, in the principle, how do we design a data mesh, right? So we have the data ownership, okay? Data as a product, as I said, right? Okay, serving self-serving data infrastructure platform, and including the federated governance as well. Many organizations invest in the centralized data lake and the data teams, okay, with the expectation drive the business on the data. However, a few initial quick win, they can just that the centralized data teams may often be that bottleneck, right? Something like you can see the diagram, right? If someone manage it, okay, will be a bottleneck. The team cannot be handle all the analytic questions or demand from the business, okay, to manage the product in a very quick way. So let me try to describe it. These four key bullets in here, okay, with you guys. Okay, data ownership. According to the principle, okay, its analytical data should be composed around the domain. Let's say the business domain. I mean, right? Okay. Similar to the team boundary aligned with the system boundary context. Okay, following the data, following the domain-driven distribution architecture, something like this. Analytical and operational data ownership is moved to the domain team away from the centralized data team. This is a key of the domain ownership, right? So instead of just one man band doing the data. Second thing, the key concept of data mesh is data as a product. The principle means there's a consumer for the data beyond the domain. The domain teams, okay, as I said, right, domain, right? The domain team is responsible for the satisfying the needs of other domain providing high quality data. Basically, domain data should be treated as any other public API. Self-serving data infrastructure platform is more easy to understand, right? Okay, it's a dedicated data platform, provide domain agnostic functionality, tools, system to build, execute, and maintain the intercorporate data project for all the domain. That's something like what I said, right? Data virtualization. With its platform, the data platform teams enable the domain team seamlessly to consume and create the data product, right? Sounds like what we heard before, virtualizations, right? And lastly, federated governance is very important. The main goal of federated governance is to create a data ecosystem with enhanced to organization rules and industry regulations. Okay, let me try to visualize it for me more easier to understand in here, right? Okay, as I said, four main concepts in here: right? Data ownership, DAAP, data as a product, self-service data platform, federated governance. And in principle, that's a vertical, right? Okay, how about a horizontal design in here, right? We have the strategic domain design, DDD in here, okay, SDDD in here. We have CISO technical perspective in here. We have the technologies in here. And I know the time is relatively rushed for today. So, okay, I'm not trying to explain the whole concept in here. So, okay, let me try to go through with you a little bit in here very fast, right? Domain-based context, okay, in the data ownership, right? As I tried to describe before, right? Try to separate the data, okay, by the domain-based context, okay. Definitely from the CISO perspective, right? We have the corresponding data domain team to manage the data instead of just one man band, okay, or one team brand to manage all the data, just like a data teams, right? So what kind of technology we need to what we need to have, right? Operational, analytical data we need to have, right? Data as a platform, right? Product thinking, as I said, DAAP is something like surfing data as API or SQL in single pane of glasses. Think about surfing the data as a product instead of just a mass or just an Excel file, something like this, right? The data product by the domain team, right? How can we define data as a product? Definitely, you cannot define by your own, right? As an IT, right? If you're IT advisor, right? We need to cooperate with the business team or the domain team correspondingly, let's say finance, to define what was the meaning of the data of the product, right? Definitely, from a technology perspective, okay, we need to have the intercooperative interface to serve it more better. Yeah, okay, we were going to, okay, self-serving data platform, self-serve data platform. Suppose domain agnostic, okay, consolidate all the views, okay, something like back here, virtualization, something high, right? Data platform team maintain the platform, definitely, okay, centralize it. Self-serving data platform is required to serve it as a technology perspective. Lastly, federated governance, context mapping, okay, map corresponding security and governance to corresponding context, okay, and the GUI base, okay, for the domain segregations. And lastly, the data governance and automation are also important for the technology support of such kind of initiative. So let's try to call example in the e-commerce website from here. So the simplified e-commerce example in here is a mesh. Okay, it's a mesh. or is a mess in here, right? You can see from the marketing people, okay, that they have the funnel analysis, need to require to connect to the product search, article detail, checkout, whatever, and you can see the management report, it require to connect to the customer 360, okay, to connect to CRM, okay, and the controlling support, the performing report, very important. They need to connect to everywhere, something like what we see in the previous diagram. I'm gonna try to say before the data visualizations, right? How do we make it better, right? How do we make it better? Together with the data mesh concept. What if, okay, we have to visualize the layers, okay? We make all the aggregated view, okay, in the middle. So data visualization is a virtual software in here. So data as a product at the top, right? Consumer aligned, right? Like the marketing, funnel analysis, KPI dashboard, okay? Profit reporting, okay? This is the data product, okay? We can, okay, talk with the domain experts, right? To define the data as a product. And then from the security compliance perspective, we can control, okay, in the fingerprint of glasses of the tools, okay, of data virtualization, as we said. The security covers, you can control a single pane of glasses. The problem is, right, you can scale it in the single pane of glasses, something like this. And respect to the source, okay? The source is aligned, right? The data virtualization on behalf of you, right? To talking with the ultimate data source and then feed the data out to serve the data as a product, DAAP, right? So this is the last slide, okay? Thank you for listening for today, my sharing, talking about the data virtualizations and how to map the data mesh in the data virtualization as well. And again, okay, this is my GitHub repo, my Medium. Check it out my latest articles or publication in here. I'm also have the Hong Kong AI communities. We have a lot of experts in there talking about the artificial intelligence, exchange the ideas. If you have good ideas, we learn something, feel free to get it out. Yeah. So that's my sharing of today's.
Okay.
Patrick, are we,
Thanks.
are we on time?
You're on time. We still have 3 minutes left, so maybe I will grab some question. So you talk about different kind of data visualization thing and the data mesh ideas. So I would say the data as a product thing is very similar to what we say API as a product, and this is data is one of the things that we want to package. So we heard a lot of questions, especially yesterday, is the challenge on enterprise is how to handle the data fragmentation, how to start the first step. They need to spend a lot of effort on that one. So I understand that you talked a lot to CTO, etc. Can you share some quick common challenges or what is the first step? For example, maybe some of the audience here may not have chance to talk to you before. So maybe their enterprise have a lot of data. So what is your quick suggestion how they can get started?
Get start to the data virtualization.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep. I think nowadays, if you are new to the data world, definitely we would like to start from small, right? Okay. But nowadays, I think the concept of data mesh is very important, right? So I know a lot of enterprise, a lot of the corporate as well already start to adopt the data platform, right? Nowadays, they also looking for the data mesh, following the principle, okay, to define the data strategy as well. So what I'm advice is, okay, just following the principle and the rules of terms of the data mesh design, okay, and then you can start the journey much more easier, okay. I'm not saying, okay, if you started the data platform already, it's hard to convert, it's also able to convert, okay. The planning, okay, the architecture planning is very important to make you success on the serving data as a product, right? If the domain context is otherwise, you were doing something. You go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, are you suggesting maybe starting some greenfield POC projects first? Because this is what we heard mostly from enterprises, that they are already got a lot of things existing. So they are not really have chance to revamp something new. So are you suggesting them they maybe start this kind of thing in a greenfield projects, whatever? What is a general pain point or journey you may suggest to them?
Starting from greenfield, right? From greenfield project. Okay, you may consider have rapid prototyping, right? Like the agile development, right? So we may start from the MVP, okay, to try to start to explore a virtualization software to try to put in some data source, okay, and then start to expose the data, making it as a product. But before you're thinking about the something as API, that's very common. Like a AI recommendation, for example, if you would like to make a recommendation engines, right? Not real time, not real time. Okay, we try to understand the customers, and then I recommend something for you in the mobile apps, right? In the carousel, you can see the recommendation product, right? That's something is an API. Technically, okay, you can just make a product just one time, just a multi, just an API, and then the backend, mobile backend can tap into API and then consume it. Very easy to understand. But what if, okay, if you have 10 more, 1,000 more, okay, API, it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So that's why, okay, you can just still start, okay, from the 1 or 2 API. Let's say you're starting from 10 already, okay, you should little take pause and thinking about what is the strategy would be look like, right, for future. Otherwise, would be become something like this here on the screen.
Okay, got that, got that. Yeah, I think this is a good talks for the audience to quickly understand the concept of the data mesh, and then just try to avoid maybe it's not buying a platform will solve your problem. You still need to plan and think ahead. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach Ethan out. He's a very nice guy and then very proactive in the community. So once again, thanks Ethan for your support this morning. Okay, thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you soon.
Thank you, Patrick. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so okay, thanks, Ethan. So he's come to another sections. So now we are having another topic called from Bob. He is the CEO and founder from IntelliDroid, and then he will talk about the cloud database, ELT APIs, etc. So Bob, are you ready for your speech?
I'm ready. It's great to be back in Hong Kong, even if virtually.
Yeah, it's okay. So your voice is good. So I will pass the time to you. So let you start. Thank you.
Okay, great. So yes, my name is Bob Brower, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called InterZoid, and we're an API first company, and we focus on helping organizations use those APIs to improve the quality, the value, and the usability of all of their data. So everything they do with that data is much more effective and successful. So today's discussion, my talk is about some trends in data, specifically data in the cloud, and how these trends are affecting and will affect our APIs and API ecosystem that we've seen the last couple of years. So I won't go too deep into some of these topics in 20 minutes, of course, but I think an overview of these trends, hopefully you will find useful and will perhaps provide the basis for some new ideas and opportunities for whatever it is in the API space that you happen to be doing. So I'll discuss briefly the past, especially from a data perspective, to see where we've been and paint the picture to what has led to the current environment and what has driven these trends. Also talk about the current challenges we're facing, both in the API and cloud data spaces, so we can get an appreciation of some of the inhibitors that are preventing us from getting to where it is we want to go as an industry, including some of the dirty little secrets, so to speak, and some of the challenges we're facing. And then, of course, prognosticate on how some of the trends that we're seeing will affect and drive what I think is in a very positive way the API landscape as a whole. And so, we can identify where some of those opportunities might be. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about where we've been and just a little bit of a journey into the past here. So, one interesting trend is the progression of the database industry. So some of you that are younger may not recognize some of these earlier names, but looking back a couple of decades, we were in the early days of the commercialization of relational database systems, client server, network-based offerings from companies like Oracle, Informix, Sybase, IBM's DB2, in the emergence of Microsoft SQL Server, which is still around today. But at that time, it was all enterprise. There was no pay-as-you-go licensing, but instead only enterprise pricing, with extensive installation requirements, nothing on the cloud. But back in those early days, we did see the need for data connectivity. So, technologies like ODBC emerged to provide some of that connectivity, ODBC drivers, which are still in use today, other forms of middleware. We saw terms like data marts and OLAP grew from this. And the early concept of our data warehouses really started to emerge. Whoops. I'm sure on the right slide. Yeah, so the reporting tools such as Crystal Reports were there. And we even had 4GL technologies to try to get the proverbial business user to be able to communicate and ask questions of databases and so forth. So this served as well for a couple of decades, kind of a client-server database approach. And about 5 years ago, things started to shift. So as applications moved to the cloud development tools became more sophisticated. Databases were more tightly integrated with these advanced websites. So naturally, it started to make more sense for the data that was needed within these applications to move to the cloud where it was more readily accessible and closer to where it was being used. And of course, with all of the managed infrastructure and pay-as-you-go business models, the idea of storing important data on the cloud was becoming more attractive. So the emerging cloud market really started to emerge. And Snowflake is kind of the poster child since they came out of nowhere to become a leader in the cloud database space. But of course, Amazon already had cloud database offerings, and Microsoft and Google were right behind them. Snowflake IPO'd and went from unicorn status to a $50 billion market cap. And, Gartner sees 75% of all databases being deployed to the cloud in 2022. You can see the evidence of this growth with AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and some of the other cloud database providers, growing at 30% year over year. And the venture capital market has borne this out with, investments almost daily. So fast forward a little bit, and, you can see how many different types of offerings that there are in this space. I mean, just about every major database platform provider now has a cloud version of their database product. Even Oracle has a cloud database offering. So, Redis, Google, SAP, Teradata, all of these have cloud offerings. Even NoSQL is getting its wings. And so, you can see that the race for data infrastructure real estate is absolutely booming. And so, to discuss another trend that's of interest to us in the API space, now that we have a sense of where we're headed from a cloud database platform perspective, you may be familiar with the traditional term ETL. As we want to move data to the cloud, there's always been ways to move data. And traditionally, there was a term known as ETL, which kind of became the standard method to move data to data warehouses for analysis from operational systems. First, you would extract data from its sources, and then the IT organization would apply various rules to transform the data. That was essentially the T. And transform it into the shape it needed, per the specifications of a data warehouse, which usually involved a data cleansing step of some kind. And then that transformed data would be loaded to the warehouse. And this, of course, always had an IT bottleneck with their various backlogs, making it often, a difficult and time-consuming but necessary process. Now, in the cloud database era, with much less friction in data availability and far less costs in data storage, the trend has started to shift to more of an ELT process, where the data is extracted and immediately loaded and available in a cloud data warehouse, at which point transformation can begin within the data warehouse, or the all-encompassing data lake is another term, of course, you often see today. And this gets at least some data to its users more quickly, and when transformed, readily available, but also provides that raw data which the transformed data evolves from. And so in an era of data science and various other, data strategies and disciplines, it can be very useful to have access to all of the data as part of the analysis, because you never know exactly what it is you're going to need. So it's kind of a basic description of ETL and ELT. If you're not familiar with them, it's more the order in which you're doing things. So to drill into this a little bit more, you can see the kind of a comparison diagram of ETL versus ELT, showing some of the data sources from which data might be extracted from. It could be cloud sources, various external sources, website forms where you're collecting data, mobile forms, enterprise scenarios, IoT devices. It could be coming from many different places. Now you can, it also includes a function of time on the bottom in comparing ETL versus ELT. So ETL does provide more control over the data from the IT organization, which of course might be useful in compliance, for example, but still is a slower process, and ultimately results in more concise data in a data warehouse, where in the bottom scenario, the data is more quickly available as it's loaded. There's much more of it that could be used in various analytic scenarios, has data lineage essentially built in. So, you might want to go back and look at the raw data for some purpose. You never know where data science or, machine learning analysis is going to take you. So you have access to all of the data. And I kind of, if you're familiar, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of cliff notes or various types of book summaries that you can purchase versus having an entire book. And I think, having the entire book at your disposal as an analogy is a much more richer experience. And what this essentially means is that you're going to get data faster, you're going to have more data, more access, and more freedom, which in turn is really going to drive API usage. Now, that said, these are not necessarily mutually exclusive approaches. I think there's a place for both, but the trend in the era of the cloud database is definitely more data faster. And I think we will continue to see a lean more towards ELT versus traditional approaches. And just as some examples of the various applications, as we feed more and more data up into the cloud in our various cloud data warehouses, we're seeing for a few years now, there's some of the dramatic success that we've had with data science, some of the advanced analytics that is taking advantage of this data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and on and on. So the next question, of course, is, well, all this data that we're moving to the cloud at just incredibly accelerated levels, can that data be trusted? This is customer data, marketing data that we're collecting, operational data is all moving to the cloud from these disparate sources for analysis, marketing campaigns, customer communication, all the things that we've talked about. But is the data usable? Can we really trust it? So that's one of the challenges that, it's difficult to know. I mean, the data can come in and show so many different shapes and sizes and formats, making it difficult to organize, verify, and make use of, especially when you have such little control over the actual data sources. And so now, you're beginning to see a lot of challenges that is slowing down, because we're having a lot of the same traditional challenges we've always had with data. Is it redundant? Is it inconsistent? Is it accurate? And so the question is, it's hard to tell if the data can really be trusted. Just some quick, simple examples that we often find in our cloud data warehouses. Clearly you can see in the slide, in a lot of work that I've done, there's 100 different ways to say Geico. A lot of times this data is collected from forms and, using OCR technology or different ways to collect that data. There's so many different variations in the way data can be represented electronically at the value level. You can see some different examples here with HSBC that we've encountered as just some examples of organization names that can be inconsistently represented in a database, making the whole concept of things like data science and different ways to use this data very difficult. Any data strategy is only good as the usability of the data that you're making use of. And of course, individual names like you see here on the slide as well, Fred, Frederick, Freddie, different spellings of last names, and most of this is Western data, but these, types of unstandardized types of data can be real challenges to getting us to the next point of, where we are in trying to make use of all the data that's rapidly moving to the cloud. And as a result of that, you're seeing things like data engineering and data programming really moving to the forefront, especially if you're looking for jobs, because these are the kinds of challenges that people are having now. How can we spend less time actually programming and massaging or doing whatever it is we need to do the data to make it useful, so all these applications that we're building, we can make use of. And so you're hearing data wrangling and cloud data quality and data refinement, removing the data format friction, because the data comes in different shapes and sizes, and trying to move it from one place to another, the simple things like converting a date can be difficult. And that's why the data engineering services market is growing at 20% per year, because, these are the challenges that we're facing now is, how can we make the data better so everything we do with that data can be much more effective. So that kind of brings us to APIs. Where is the opportunity here? Is this a place that that the APIs can really grow from? With all the data that's pouring into the cloud at an accelerating and unprecedented levels, even with some of the aforementioned data challenges, I think APIs provide a tremendous opportunity because it's the best data conduit that there is. And that's why, APIs are thriving so much. So this data flow, this movement of cloud data, bringing, utilizing ELT, like we've talked about, I think going forward is going to create an unprecedented opportunity in the API space. When data exists and lives in the cloud rather than within the confines of an enterprise, there's much less friction around that data and so many different things that we can do. So there's, several categories of APIs I think are going to thrive and represent tremendous growth opportunities. Simple examples are data enrichment APIs, providing the ability to easily via API append existing third-party data to data that we already have in our cloud data warehouse or data lake. Could be, extensive information about a category of prospects a sales team might be targeting and want to do some analysis on. APIs that pump data from various collection points around the web and the internet or mobile devices or IoT can be of tremendous value. Some of the data engineering related APIs that help transform, cleanse, and validate data for accuracy will help solve some of the previously discussed data quality, data usability challenges. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to create new APIs which solve some of these challenges. I think it's a ripe environment for that. And, an interesting thing is, I think it will be easier, we're seeing more of this for aligned companies or partner companies with so much accessible data readily available in their cloud data warehouses, with a lot of that friction eliminated, to share that data in some cases and help each other reach desired outcomes. I think if we've got a lot of data in our organization, why are we all reinventing the wheel? And I think you're going to see a big build out in APIs that help organizations connect and utilize and help each other with their vast cloud data stores. And so, there's a bit of legwork to do, as we showed with some of the data engineering challenges. But I think, if you've been in the API space for a while, it feels like it's taken some time to grow at the levels we've all expected. But I think this movement of data to the cloud is really a way to bring about the long-awaited golden age of APIs. And so I think it's very exciting times ahead of us for the API crowd, and the emergence of cloud databases is really going to be an accelerator. And of course, data is the future, and APIs are really what helps make data move. And so I think all of us that are focused on the space are all really in a good place. So to summarize, there's accelerating trends of database systems moving to the cloud. Just look around, you can see that. Also, new data approaches such as ELT are paving the way for even more acceleration and more data moving to the cloud. And then, of course, there are still some data engineering challenges to overcome. But these trends in cloud data, and specifically cloud databases and ELT, I believe, will likely lead the way to the golden age of APIs to finally be upon us. And so hopefully that's good news for all of us. And that's it.
Okay, hi Bob. So thanks for sharing. And then
Sure.
yeah, I'm not expert on the data part, but I can feel the benefit if talking about doing that thing on the cloud, especially for company like us. We don't have a very experienced data scientists, or actually DBA focus on that thing, and then we can hands off to those cloud. But I have one quick question, because I was also
Sure.
from enterprise. So how can we what is your view? Okay, for a large enterprise, like we talk to a lot of company like bank, enterprise, or telco, they have actually maybe millions of data, trillions of data. But how can they take this move? Because it is too heavy for them, I would say. Or you can see this trend is more from some brand new stuff, brand new business, that stuff from scratch. Do you have any quick suggestion? If they have already got a bunch of data, how can they resolve the internal bottleneck, internal pushback, etc.? Can you share your experience?
Yeah, so what I've learned is that in general, a lot of folks they don't recognize what kind of data challenges that they have. Yeah, it's kind of a lot of the vendors that push a lot of analytics technologies and all these different things that you can now do with the data. And they kind of leave out the steps, say, hey, but this all depends on you having good, accurate, comprehensive, very usable data. Garbage in, garbage out, that whole story. And so I think if you really want to have success in an organization, in a data stewardship approach, or as a data centric organization that really focuses on data quality, you have to be able to demonstrate that some of these issues really exist. And so the first step is always analysis and identifying and showing people within the organization who may not easily understand what the data issues that they might be having in their organization might be. So if you can show them and say, look, in our company, we have 25 different ways that we're representing a product, and that is really throwing off all of our analysis. And you're going to make decisions based on faulty data. And I'm showing you that this is really a problem. And once they see it, the light bulb kind of goes off. And so I think getting a handle on what kind of data challenges you have as an organization, and then being able to do some ROI analysis, is really the key to getting everybody on board. Because having good data is far more than just technology. The people that collect the data have to be trained to collect better data, or all of the stuff that we're doing is going to have weaknesses to it. Hence the rise in data engineering back end things that we then have to focus on. So getting a handle and understanding the challenges that your organization faces is really the first step to having an all-encompassing data strategy. So you can become an organization that truly leverages your data asset, which might be one of your most important assets that you have.
Okay, got your points. So at the time is almost up, but I want to highlight one thing. So
Sure.
I see this as interesting trend, and then I am not sure because of maybe the data ownership, the data retention, or vendor login. I do this is what I heard mostly, especially in Hong Kong. So people may be worrying about their control of data. So we don't have time to drill down to that. So maybe if any audience you have similar questions, feel free to reach out Bob so that he can also share his experience as well. So thanks once again for Bob's time here, and thanks for support.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bob at Indrazoid.com. Happy to discuss any or drill into anything with anybody. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. Bye. Okay. So thanks, Bob, to share his thought about the ELT and ETL thing. Okay, so in the next section, we are excited to have Isaac from OpenHive. We'll be talking about the data collaboration with federated learning. So federated learning is also having some increasing awareness in Hong Kong recently, and then hopefully Isaac can help to explain a bit for the topic today. Okay, so Isaac, can you hear me well? It's okay?
Yes, loud and clear. Thanks for introduction as well.
Yep. So I pass the stage to you. Thank you.
It's on my turn now. So happy to see you guys right here despite the typhoon. So I'm Isaac from OpenHive Technology. We are a company from WeBank, a brand from WeBank, promoting technology including privacy-enhancing computation technologies, blockchains, and AI as well. Today, I would like to walk you through several topics one by one. That is federated learning as a necessity for this new AI era, and then telling a bit about how federated learning itself is related to a broader scope of technology, the PEC, and also introducing some very compelling use case, cross-industry use case for FL. And then finally, I'll be showing you the OpenHive federated learning enterprise solutions with an overview. So to begin with, I will be saying that we have been hearing a lot from the media, especially from those AI giants or leading companies, that there has been advancement in algorithm and then resulting in significant improvement of the adoption of AI elsewhere, anywhere. So it sounds like it is very promising, and AI adoption is proliferating. But as a second thought, is it really true? So when I'm talking to enterprise, so what they are really facing is that despite they are having the access or in the custody of many huge volume of data, so they are facing some foundational problems from the perspective of AI, like data governance and data quality that has been mentioned by many speakers. But most important of all is they are seeing the difficulty is they do not have the relevant data for the use of some particular use cases for the enterprise. So they are aware that those valuable data is not available within the custody of their own company, but in others' companies. So there is a very strong motivation for either practitioners or either from a business angle that there is data collaborations in a legitimate way between different parties. However, despite that, we have a strong motivation to collaborate, but there are many valid concerns for such collaboration. For example, from the perspective of regulation and compliance, we all know that medical clinical trial data cannot be shared And then we are also seeing rising concerns or demands of control from the public or the society over data privacy and security. For example, when we are looking at the response from the public or people towards incidents like Cambridge Analytica, and also the response from enterprise or company towards those regulatory recently imposed like GDPR. So indeed, there are many impacts and concerns over data privacy and those regulatory. And furthermore, data privacy itself is getting is a topic being looked into in a very stringent way from those regulatory bodies. For example, you can see during 2019, Facebook has been heavily fined for the misuse of data related to the Cambridge Analytica incidents, and also for the data leakage during the end of 2019. So there are huge impact to those enterprises. And then in Europe, you can see that there are GDPR try to govern the usage of AI and also the explainability of AI and also the data privacy, etc., etc. And not only Europe, and you can see that in even that is US, there are concerns on how data is being utilized, being transferred or sold, and there are CCPA to have been passed and exercised to control over these areas. And back to China, we have those cybersecurity law early since 2017, and also PIPL as well. That is some regulatory requirement that is very alike GDPR. So the condition and also control over data and also data privacy is getting tougher and tougher. But despite that, there are more frictions on those using of data and also data privacy. But it indeed has the ground to have such kind of protections or controls. Because when those data is not being protected properly or using the proper technologies or techniques to protect, data privacy can be easily exposed, or that can be easily that is contaminated or that is compromised. For example, when we are looking in the Netflix anonymized dataset cases, some clever data scientists, they can make use of those auxiliary data to guess back what individual exactly who is being participate in the data set, despite that all of the PII has been already removed from the data set. So it sounds like there are many ways, or there are many risks of data privacy within the internet, or when we are doing data collaborations. And then another angles or consideration that is dragging the progress of data collaboration is the lack of trust between different parties. It is well known that there are many vulnerabilities in internet, especially regarding machine learning. There may be that kind of data theft, trying to steal the raw data or try to extract valuable information from the model weighting and making inference on the data set, trying to guess back what is the data values from the data being provisioned from those data that is not belonging to the owners. And also, for example, there are some kind of malicious practice to try to change the performance of those metadata of those model or machine learning tools, and then try to change the prediction qualities as well. And also there may be attacks on those availability of such service. So in a nutshell, there are many vulnerabilities and also many risks if data collaboration is not being done in in a properly manner. Luckily, with the advance of the technology, we have federated learning come into place. Federated learning, in short, it is a distributed machine learning network that can enable data collaborations or model training while the data is residing at the source. There's no need to centralize those data. And then at the same time, those data privacy can be preserved with the deployment of advanced encryption technologies like homomorphic encryptions and also PSI as well. So this federated learning has given us a new way to approach the challenges and also the opportunities of data collaborations. And as a matter of fact, PEC as a broader scope of technologies, having federated learning as a key members within this technology scope, we have been seeing the adoption has been very good and very common, even within the space of heavily regulated industry, in the FSI and also in application area like AML. So in this coming sessions, I will be talking a little bit how federated learning is related to the broader scope of technology, the PEC. From Gartner, we learned that these technologies will be the strategic technology trends for 2022. And then what PEC bring into value, or the unique value proposition, is that they give the protections while the data is in use. That is, when the data is being analyzed, so the data privacy and also data protection can be guaranteed. And there are no need for the centralizing of data for the computation of data or building up of models. And there are many technologies within this umbrella. So some of them is more prevailing. For example, like we have been hearing a lot about homomorphic encryptions recently, and also secure multi-party computations, trusted execution environments, and federated learning as well. So each of these components can serve certain use case alone, but most of the time they are using or blended together to achieve a better performance. For example, from the perspective of privacy AI or privacy machine learning, we have been seeing the evolutions of these applications. For example, in the first generation, we are seeing the most prominent technology being used or researched has been the SMPC. And then eventually we have the trusted execution environment. And most recently, we have the sophisticated implementation of privacy machine learning with federated learning. So it has been branded different types of technologies like SMPC, homomorphic encryption altogether to conquer those kinds of challenges related to law compliance, hardware dependency, or that is performance, and also the necessity of putting data together or not. And federated learning itself, I will be seeing it as a tool or a mechanism trying to strike a balance between concerns like or consideration like data protection, privacy, and performance or model explainability as well. So that we are trying to strike a balance between this consideration and give a practical conditions so that we can come up with reasonable data collaboration performance. And we have, by large, two different types of federated learning categories, like horizontal federated learning and vertical federated learning. And in any cases, during federated learning, there will be no exchange of PII and also the raw data itself, but just those kinds of encrypted partial gradients or intermediate modeling results. And also from those paper issued by PCBT, it is also being mentioned that for federated learning, it will be recommended as a means or tools to avoid unnecessary sharing of data during data collaborations. Then I'll be trying to show you different versatile use case across different industries for federated learning and their adoptions. For example, in finance, FSI, we have those underwriting use cases by making use of federated learning, and also in the area of anti-money laundering as well, trying to make use of federated learning to build up some more accurate models. And for example, in insurance space, for customer pricing, we do have this application of federated learning as well. And particularly in marketing in general, federated learning can improve the efficacy of precision marketing as well. And even in the property business, we have been seeing use cases by deploying federated learning so that those kind of visitors or potential buyers of those properties can be more accurately targeted. And that is a case that has been landed last year with the participation of 3 major banks in Hong Kong and Science Park in the middle to support the infrastructure of federated learning, and also the participation of TransUnion to jointly together to validate and ascertain how FL, federated learning, can be helping in terms of securities and then preserving the data privacy. And while that is having a very good performance in terms of model predictions. And then having been talking about the motivations of federated learning, those challenges, and also some terminologies of federated learning. So we are talking more about how we can deploy such use cases from the perspective or from an angle of enterprise. So we need to have a enterprise-grade federated learning solutions. So with that, I'm trying to introduce you OpenHive federated learning solutions, which can fulfill the most prevailing or prominent demand for enterprise for data collaborations. So OpenHive federated learning solution itself is an end-to-end federated learning solution. It takes care not just only from the very first beginning, data ingestion, and also the model building, and also for the model serving as well. And then no matter those data collaboration is simple or small scale, starting from like internal collaboration among business units for a particular company, to some external data collaboration between different enterprise, to some scale up network type collaborations across different industry. So the OpenHive federated learning solution is able to take care for different scale of this type of collaborations. Having said that, the deployment is very simple. Enterprise need to install at most 1 to 2 software instances, like the computation nodes, or possibly the data market operator node, to make the data collaboration happens. And as an enterprise-grade federated learning solutions, we will be seeing that there will be different types of demand and concern. For example, we are expecting a tools that can take care of the end-to-end process of the federated learning, not just crunching the data or coming up of a machine learning model that is having a high performance in terms of some technical measurements. So we need to take care of those peripheral process like onboarding, data provisioning, or data subscription approval, or role-based authentication as well. For example, from the interface, you can see that we do have those visualizations to show what is the structures or organization of such federated learning network, telling how much sites is being participated, how many data sets are being available. And then every technical details, for example, what is the joining site from, what is the participating site, where is it coming from, is it a legitimate site? We do have this kind of information being shown in different interface. And then besides, there are also concerns about the architecture. Is it secure enough so that even the data is never moving out of the premises of the enterprise? And then it can also facilitate a good performance of machine learning, etc., etc. So we can see that there are features and also utilities. For example, we have the data provider. They can raise the request to the market operators so that they can request for the listing of the utilization of their data, and whether there are any sample to be shown during the listing of data, and then that can be approved or not by the data market operators. And the data market operators also have the interface to review those requests, and then to assess whether there are any problem on the request. And then once those requests are approved, data is utilization is being approved, then those potential data requester can request the usage of those data from the markets, and then sending through those requests to the market operators to see if it is a proper request. And furthermore, for any data collaboration, we are expecting everything's traceable. For example, the what data is being used, when is it being used, how many times it's being used, and what models are being built by what party. So we do have different types of interface to keep track of this detailed information, so that there are complete transparency for any data collaboration being conducted within the platform or the solutions. And then there are concerns on also that is demand for the protections of the IP of the data, and also the IP of the algo assets as well. So there are careful design within the solution, so that, for example, when analysis is being done, those columns characteristics can be analyzed, but still those genuine names of those explanatory variables, columns names, will not be disclosed to the data requester. It will be just being presented as an anonymized way, so that the analysis can be conducted as usual, but the IP or the sensitivity of data is being protected. And for example, when model is built, there is the concern on whether the column names are being disclosed to the counterparty. So there are some design that can protect such concerns, but while allowing the building up of a decent model. And also model has been designed such that which model variables is participated is being disclosed to the proper party. So if that kind of information is belong to not the data requester but the data provider, then it will not be displayed in the interface, and etc., etc. So all the IPs of regarding data and algorithm can be protected within our solutions. And then furthermore, when we are talking about this is a tool used by data scientists, we are expecting a tool that can be easily integrated and easy learning curve for such tools. So we are having the feature so that the solution can be deployed on the Jupyter Notebook as well, so that those prevailing machine learning pipeline can be reused and then easily incorporate in those pipeline that is prevailing in the enterprise. So, and the learning curve will be smoothened, and there is no need to start from scratch to pick up this usage of these tools. And finally, and most importantly, the protection is guaranteed by homomorphic encryption and other mixed type of privacy-enhancing computation, so that those adversarial attacks can be protected, and then the performance of machine learning is also guaranteed as well. And then this is the presentation that I would like to bring forth to you guys, and almost what I would like to share with you today. And happy to talk a little bit more on this one. And Patrick, so I will be stopping a little bit right now.
It is okay. So the time is almost up, but I know that this, I think, generally talking about the federated learning, people is thinking, okay, how do I set up the test environment, etc. So I saw that you have an operator environment. So is that allow the people don't need to set up their own environment, but actually can engage you guys and then find the operator for more? Just a short, quick question here.
Oh, actually, it is not how it is being deployed. So we are just providing the software instances. So for those who want to adopt this solution, they need to install these software pieces into their own infrastructure. So it is how it works.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, I think the time is almost up. So if anyone of the audience is interested to set up their infrastructure, feel free to reach out Isaac and their team offline. So really thanks for Isaac's support again. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Isaac.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so okay, so we here come to the segment 2 final sections before the lunch. So very happy that we will have Wei Yip. He is the EASG committee from the Hong Kong Computer Society. So thanks, Wei. So he will be talking about the API and data integration capability on the digital solutions. So okay, Wei, can you hear me well?
Yes.
It's okay.
Very clear. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yeah, okay, I can hear your voice as well. So I pass the stage to you. So it's your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of the audience. Okay, no matter you are at home or office, because Hong Kong typhoon just for host. Okay, okay. First of all, I would like to talk about Patrick for introduction. The API data integration capability has tools for building faster and adaptive digital solutions. Okay, for this sharing, what we will cover is we have the 3 topics, which are the changing world of API integration, and also I would try to do some example of the new architecture approach. And finally, we will have some example for the technology stacks. I will use some open source as a sample to declare what session you need to put some tools appropriately. Okay, the first one is the changing world of API and integration. Okay, before the go into the some tools and introduction, I would like to mention or some customers you should hearing and seeing. For example, one customer is say there is no way you can put off your money, people, or time into the new digital technologies. What can I do? And some will mention new technology cannot be solved every challenge, and neither can simply improve your existing infrastructure. And also, when some customers are doing the Mode 1 migration to the state of as the Mode 2, this is why Mode 1 and Mode 2 both exist and why the world in increasing hybrid. So here, the above we are hearing and seeing with our customer. So in such of the case, we will try to speed or declare the solution and for to their own digital transformation into the 4 sessions. First of all is to optimize the IT you have, the traditional resources so they can continue and add value. The second one, integrate the old and new system resources and practice. The third, delivering cloud infrastructure and cloud services. And it's also the building the model apps and solution that will take you further. Today, this will more focus to talk about the second one, the integration of application data and across both forms of infrastructure and resources. Before going through the solution, we would like to see some survey from the gallery report. So what is the reason we are having this conversation today? You can see this, the some figures. I think the figure is the 2 years ago. You can see that, for example, 26 billion interconnected devices, 215 trillion stable connection, and also there's 63 million connection per second. Such a huge figures. So, but I believe by the time year the 2022, there will be more. So we'll see one more the survey in the global IT trend and priorities research, maybe it was 2 to 3 years ago, and you can see the enterprise integration was the top three at the IT funding priorities. Okay, how to connect the survey is according to the global survey with over 1,000 respondents, and also 75% of survey respondents were IT manager, directors, or also the C-level. So in such of the case, the integration is, you can see that the integration is critical for digital business. We can consider the two mainstream. First of all is the customer experience. And also the second one is the customer engagement models. Let's talk about the customer experience first. Delivering excellent customer experience is no longer a matter of differentiation. It is a matter of survival. While individual experience and interaction are the building blocks of loyalty, a holistic customer journey is the motor that binds all together, that's brought all together. Say, for example, if you are operating a hotel, the stay is important, has the booking interaction, the conversation, the guest has almost lots of trouble issue. Say, for example, the Wi-Fi issue, the loyalty program issue, and so on. Ultimately, the loyalty of your customer is as strong as the witness link on the customer journey. The second one is the customer engagement model. At the same time, customer expectation about the personalized and content relevant interaction have never been higher. To meet them, organizations need to facilitate seamless cross-application data sharing by building an integration plan and the different SaaS application. Your customer interact with throughout with their journey. A successful integration strategy will allow you to generate the multi-directional customer insights in using, for example, some AI tools. I can share some more examples about the disruption. Okay, just take a look, for example, the Uber. While everyone uses it as an example of digital disruption, the impact of the integration on its success is often overlooked. Such a test company in Hong Kong have had access to the same customer data for at least 20 years. It's a long time. What they were not able to do is connect the data in a way that create predictably and change customer expectation. There is a reason they call it disruption. The old tools and processes we used in the past cannot cut it anymore. As a leader, we cannot accept the status, of course. And I will do some advice just to make it short. If you are not a digital company and looking to reinvent yourself, you need to act right away. Application integration, to be honest, is a great push to digitize experience process and advance our analytics and intelligence process automations. Integration is critical for digital business. Connect the new application, data, devices to get the most value from your data and create defensive solution. Digital business is driving an unprecedented amount of change and demand within the organizations. Adoption of new IT services, often the cloud basis, is being driven by the business unit. Before they can prove any value, these new services need to be connected to the application portfolio to enable data to be shared and business process to run. Similarly, digital business initiatives also. These are driving the requirement to deliver data and application to a new ecosystem of the consumers. And also, the digital transformation to become a great software company require multiple steps. For example, in this slide, you can see the changing waterfall development to CI/CD. This is a continuous integration and continuous deployment. From deploying into the data center to deploying into cloud for infrastructure. The goal of the steps should be to focus on the business outcome of increasing speed, agility, and also the control. Speed has its mean the new idea can be deployed faster. Agility has its mean can do the update changes, can be done more simply, allow the greater experimentation. And finally, the control has risk in security and issues with bugs can be approached faster. Let's talk about more detail about the agility. It is what driving organization to transform, to respond faster to opportunity and threats. To try more ideas, expecting some, maybe many, will fail. To avoid being disruption to smaller, faster, and more focused competitors. To be honest, successful organizations need to be differentiated through software and application, and also the better support their business objective. Say, for example, the target audience is to customer, partner, and also ISV. This is the leading to become software-driven business. So make it short, for the agility conclusion is for customer want to plan less and react more quickly. For the top integration needs, as I can see, fallback from my memories the 20 years, the centralized model of enterprise service bus serving an organization and dominate the enterprise integration. In this model, integration was a service owned by the IT department and shared in the same way as the communications and network services. Each project would interface to an enterprise service bus. The idea being to minimize its dependency on other departments, as well as to maximize the reuse of integration skills, which have historically been expensive. I think nowadays it doesn't work anymore. Now, innovation happens on much smaller team with much frequent deployment. They need fast, easier avenue to collaboration and coordination. The ability for developer to feel like developer again, instead of a central team responsible for all integrations. Okay, let's talk the second one is the new architecture approach. Many customers are undergoing change. Some are forced by market reality. Some are seizing the opportunity. Some, of course, are both. To transfer is to change from one form or way of doing things to another. This is difficult. Agile integration is a core capability in making digital transformation real and make it possible. It's established a new application infrastructure that facility make their new reality happen. Integration bridges the legacy to the new. For example, the existing apps with new channels, SaaS application with legacy application, monolithic apps with microservices. The above is enable the new value to be unlocked quickly by composing and recomposing application and services. It establishes an infrastructure for delivering application better and faster. And for customer, individual players in different parts of the organization have different perspectives and need different things to success. For example, it's easier cross-silo cooperation, high degrees of autonomy, fewer gatekeeper on the path to live, increasing level of safety and reliability, and also the overall the speed increase. So that's why to do the agile integration needs an organization-wide change from people to platform and finally to the process. You need an agile integration, the development focus on, on that. So we are trying to split or organize into the 3 API-centric for the agile integration. This is the key foundation capability led by the today. They will create the solid backbone for integration to meet the new challenge more efficiently and quickly. From left to the right, which are the distributed integrations, containers, and also the API first approach. For the digital integration need allow spread throughout the enterprise, reusable, pattern-based integration where it is the lead is clear, especially for microservices architecture. For the containers, fundamental to better software delivery and scale has application capacity and workload increase. The final is the API first approach, now becoming the critical and managing internal reuse, fostering in and enabling customers and partners to connect. Architecture approach, the focus on trying the people, the platform, with inventing the process across the organization. Integration teams are no longer bottleneck, and others can carry out part of burden. Deployment and operation become more uniform and forceful and span the organization. APIs, the becoming building blocks team can cooperate around and automation stitches everything together into reusable capabilities. And also, you can do this effectively address the new and emerging approach or initiative like API first, cloud native, event-driven streaming, message queue, and local integration tools. And also for the infrastructure is multi-cloud approach. Okay, let's talk about the technology stack. I'm trying to do some example for the agile integration tools. Of course, you can use the open source and some vendor and whatever you use, it is up to you. I just bring out some example from here. So for example, for the integration, you can use the open source Apache Camel. For the API management gateway, you can use the Apache APIscene and also the free scale. And also for the integration, the message queue or the hot topic is the event streaming. You can use the MQ and also Kafka. And finally, you can use some the data integrations. Say for example, the APIscene and the quick view. All of them is the open source as well. As the central, you have to do the small team and doing some small development using containers, and you have to use the container orchestration to as the infrastructure. So from here is the I think everyone knows is Kubernetes. So no matter, as I mentioned, the core integration capability you can use as long as you can bind into the 4 sessions, which are the as long as to try to for example is the complying the enterprise integration patterns. Say for example is Camel. And the API gateway, say for example, is free scale, and also the event-driven is Kafka, and finally, the data integration is quick. For the implementation, the agile integration, Open source and provides from here is still using the open source as an example. Open source provides a tool offering that fulfill this capability and help user realize the benefits. For example, the distributed integration, Apache Camel, core integration, technology for creating services and exposing the APIs and enabling the communications, allow integration to be deployed whenever, doesn't force a legacy enterprise service bus deployment model. The middle one is the Kubernetes. It can do the scalable deployment and one-time platform for containers. You can use like open source, for example, is Jenkins, Tekton to standardize the building process and deployment process. Let's say it's the CI/CD pipelines. And finally, you have to expose the API to outside. From here is the example is free scale. The fostering is sharing and reuse the service in using the API. Help organization first the API has supported with appropriate governance. For example, you can control the API Trojan. You can set the policy for the for your API, and also you can do some segmentation for your API as well. Combine all together. This form a powerful architectural foundation. Actually, integration shouldn't only be solid for integration-specific project. It also should be the core development platform for all applications. Okay, and try to discuss more about the Apache Camel as the integration example open source. It is the lightweight integration technology in mission-critical deployment for example, to government, healthcare, financial services, and more. Remember that we set agile software development drive the demand for APIs. For example, we use the open source Apache Camel is the foundation of your API. It has a pattern that supercharge your speed of integrations. And do things like rich data transformation and create some connector routing and also the messaging. Nowadays, hybrid cloud is a hot topic for our consideration. So single platform and tool chains across the cloud environment provide the consistency and flexibility for current and also the future deployment as well. Traditional, the message queue technology is focused to use asynchronous communication. And also, the nowadays hot topic is the streaming. Say, for example, the event-driven architecture is based on the asynchronous non-blocking communication between event and producer and also the event's consumer. And finally, we can talk about the API management. Microservices and agile development create the lead for API management. It's managed, as I mentioned before, it's managed the traffic for your website, your mobile apps, and your B2B services. It allows you to enforce all of the policy, no matter it's the technical policy like authentication, authorization, and also the business policy like how many traffic can comes in, how many days, and how to do the fast and for the first party and the VIP customer and so on. So that's why I'm shared today and prepare. Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Ray, for your sharing. So we still have 2 minutes. So maybe I can help to facilitate some question. So okay. So okay, so you mentioned about the API integration and data integrations, but I believe that and also from my experience, there should be quite some company they have already done some integration like ESB before. So can you share about one or two reasons why they may need to change or inject some quick mindset on how they can do that if they already got something running well? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's a good question. Thank you, Patrick. As I can say, the IT organization must evolve to meet organization demand. This is driving many of the department handshake and also the conversation we are having with our customer about the for desktop team and infrastructure team. So many of these customers are looking to shift their development and deployment process from traditional waterfall development and also agile method to DevOps nowadays, very hot topic, and they want to learn how to enable that. Okay, we are also seeing the customer asking about the microservices. Has they switched their application architecture away from the existing monolithic to NT application to highly distributed and componentization service-based application? So because so that's why on the infrastructure side, we are seeing a lot of interest in, for example, the container, driving by the popularity of Docker and has an alternative to existing virtualization technology as well.
Okay, got that. So
Okay.
yeah, I think the time is also almost up. So maybe if any of the audience you are interested to know about the API and data integrations and how ways experience can help, feel free to reach him out offline. So once again, thanks Wei for the sharing.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you all of the audience. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so he come to the wrap of the section in I would say in the morning or in the segment 2. So we allowed this to be having a lunch break. So just take care. So there's still some rain outside. So grab your lunch, and then we will be coming back in 1:15. So in the afternoon, we will be having two track. One is the API first design track, how to do a better API product, monetization, etc. And we also have the API first development. Just one announcement. There's one talk in the API's first announcement talking about the developer documentation. There's some ad hoc changes due to the speaker availability. But no worry, we have also prepared some recorded content for that slot. So please enjoy if you're interested. So thanks and see you soon.